Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk about the recent stories and allegations about Thomas Jefferson High School and withholding merit aids from many students. I was shocked to hear about, I'm not going to talk about this. You know what? It sucks that the merit aids were withheld. And you know what? We should do something about it. That should not happen. But the other problem is that no one in the community is willing to do anything about it either. All they do is just sit there and complain because no one even wants to meet in the middle. I think that we should meet in the middle because, there's people of all different varying ideologies and perspectives, and they should be heard. That's why I wrote a op-ed last year about this, because I thought that there's too much polarization in the community and not enough unity in education, which there should be. I was thankful for the people that helped me with this, for you guys for listening and taking the time to speak with me, Ms. Nomani for helping me write it, and with input from other people in the community like the NAACP. But you know what? Some people still don't want to take it. I want to say there were some people that were ashamed and accused me of being a puppet for conservative voices to talk about my issues, especially Vanessa Hall and Robert Rigby. Shame. I was not speaking on anyone's behalf. I think that it is unnecessary that there has to be this much. I get that there are people fighting on both sides. But we've done nothing to bring them together. Not one thing. And the TJ thing, that's just one thing that opened Pandora's box again. And I really think that it's time that we create a task force or something, because this is a big issue in the community. Even though I'm not a student in FCPS anymore, I know the difference. And I know that parents always teach students to be nice to each other and be kind to each other. But it's so hypocritical when half the adults in this room, let alone this county, can't even sit to each other for 5 minutes and wonder, what the hell is going on?
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kim Lakabaugh, followed by Andrew Fay.
Good evening. I speak to you all tonight as a private citizen, a mom who has had 3 kids attend Fairfax City Public Schools, which I'm very proud of. But that's even though I'm the executive director of Reset 180, an anti-trafficking organization in Reston, Virginia, who serves to care for the survivors that are our clients, but we also build awareness in the community and disrupt the demand for trafficking in our community. The federal definition of trafficking is when a person is induced to provide commercial sex or forced labor through force, fraud, or coercion. If a child under 18 is providing sex or forced labor, it is automatically defined as trafficking. There's no such thing as a child sex worker. They are victims of trafficking. Using cutting-edge technology, my organization has received data showing that in January 2021, 650 people were sold online for commercial sex within a 50-mile radius of Reston. That same information we were pulling again in October 21, it grew to 3,694. March of 2022, 8,152. October of last year, it skyrocketed. 15,660 people sold online for commercial sex within a 50-mile radius of our office in Reston, Virginia. This is a local problem. I want to show you a map. You may not be able to see it very clearly, but this is from the National Trafficking Hotline. These hot red spots is where trafficking is the worst. We are in one of the worst locations. It goes down the 95 corridor. In 2017, Virginia was number 6 in the nation for active federal human trafficking cases. And Fairfax County is one of the worst places in Virginia. Approximately 5,100 students attend school within 1,000 feet of trafficking.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Fay, followed by Matthew Shemp. Andrew Fay. Matthew Shemp, followed by Vanessa Hall.
Good evening. My name is Matt Shemp. I'm the father of a first grader at Claremont Elementary. I'm an FBI agent, tactical instructor, and active shooter reduction program instructor. I've also been part of the tactical response to several mass shooting incidents, including the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in which 17 students were killed. I've come tonight to highlight the issue of elementary school safety, one to which we have collectively become complacent. We as a county should be able to say that we are acting responsibly to keep our youngest students safe, but to honestly say that, we need to enact change based on some uncomfortable but factual truths. First, violence targeting elementary schools is a real problem and will increase. Historically, school violence follows watershed events. In 1999, we hoped Columbine was an outlier. Instead, it opened the door for dozens of school shootings since. Likewise, we hope the 2012 Sandy Hook tragedy was an isolated incident. It has proven instead to be the start of a pattern of external violence targeting our youngest, most starkly seen in the loss of 19 children last year in Uvalde. That pattern of violence will continue. Second, national data unequivocally shows the only safeguard with a real chance of saving lives in a school shooting is having law enforcement present at the school before the shooting begins. Nationally, a 3-minute police response time is considered very good. At Uvalde, by the 3-minute mark, over 100 rounds have been fired. The sad truth is, by the time the police arrive, it's already too late. The only way around that is to have an SRO on scene beforehand. Embarrassingly, many of our neighboring school districts have recognized the reality of this threat and have already taken action. In 2022, Prince William County placed security specialists at their elementaries. Loudoun County is progressing on a plan to place SROs at elementary schools by 2024. Even private schools like St. Louis up the road that receive no public funding have found resources to employ constantly present security officers. In Fairfax County, we seem to have adopted a strategy of hope. We hope it won't be our school next time, our kids. Certainly resources are finite and Fairfax County Police have many responsibilities, but as someone who has witnessed such carnage in person, I'm here to tell you, hope is a bad plan.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Vanessa Hall, followed by Stacy Langton.
First of all, I would love Mr. Geist to talk to me and Mr. Rigby personally. He's never spoken to us, and anything said about us, particularly by Ms. Namani, does not have a whit of truth. And I'm really sad that she's videoing all of this to put out there and provide her version of a narrative. It is what it is. Sorry. My speech is actually, I submitted it. I'm not going to get through the whole thing. But I do want to talk about the fact that those who pit equity against merit are pretending that they're mutually exclusive. If merit's the quality of being good and deserving to be praised or rewarded, then each student should have merit in the eyes of our school, no matter their PSAT scores. Unfortunately, some only focus on test scores to determine merit, which leaves disabled, dyslexic, English language learners, and so many others behind. My dyslexic child does not test well as reflected by her low SOLs, but she has great grades, works hard, is happy, and is, most importantly, kind to others. When she applies to college, I want schools to look at the whole child, not just some arbitrary score. Even my son, whose scores are off the charts, should not be judged just by his PSATs. My kids are more than their test scores. All of our kids are more than their test scores. I do want you to pursue equal outcomes for every student without exceptions, because we as a community should work towards the very best outcomes for each and every student. To achieve that goal, equity comes into play, giving each student the support and resources they need, whether it's reading support, team-taught classes, extra testing time, etc. Equity recognizes that we do not all start from the same place and that additional resources can bring students up. Equity means meeting each student by name and by need to ensure that they can succeed in school and life. This is hard but necessary work. I feel blessed to be in a school system that treats both my AAP and IEP kids with respect.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stacy Langton.
Political operative Asra Nomani claims Principal Ann Bonitatabus intentionally withheld and hid awards due to equity policy and discriminated against Asians and wants her fired. ASRA deceptively conflated national merit scholars with commended students and doesn't show the equity policy because it doesn't exist. Yet the complaining parent, Shauna Yasher, acknowledged the, quote, unforeseen shipping delay due to inadequate postage, which delayed the entire process, and that TJ used to have a ceremony, but attendance was low, so it didn't continue. ASRA called the principal a privileged white woman, which is as racist as calling a black person uppity. This smear campaign is not ASRA's first. Where does the principal go to get her reputation back? I've heard from TJ parents who were smeared by ASRA on social media for their support of changes to the admission policy. My family was smeared when I spoke against candidate Harry Jackson mocking an autistic teen. Where do we all go to get our reputations back? Here's how deep the rabbit hole goes on ASRA's false narrative. ASRA and Jackson work for billionaire Heather Higgins, CEO of dark money-funded Independent Women's Network, which provides Fox News guests. ASRA, Harry, Yasher, and Glenn Miller are involved the past 2 years in the TJ admissions lawsuit. They have a vested interest in the public perception of their case and have weaponized the media to harm the school's reputation. I'm on record warning the GOP about her since last January. It's shameful her fake news got a Republican AG to play the race card from the bottom of the deck. He called it state-sanctioned racism against Asians. Thousands of taxpayer dollars wasted on an investigation based on a political dirty trick using their Alinsky tactics of by any means necessary that will no doubt embarrass Republicans with the outcome. All because ASRA wants what amounts to a participation trophy. These are not conservative values. We do not lie to win.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jennifer Litton-Tidd, followed by George Becerra. Jennifer. George Becerra, followed by Asra Nomani.
Good evening and Happy New Year, Superintendent Reed and school board members. I would like to talk about 2 items this evening. First, as you are close to entering the second half of the school year, you all have some big items that need to be voted on by May or June. They are the strategic plan and the equity policy. I appreciate Dr. Reed giving continuous updates at board meetings on the strategic plan work. May I also suggest that at the same time these updates are given, can there be continuous updates on the equity policy work? Makes sense to bridge the two because the strategic plan is equity-centric. Second, as Dr. Reed's first full year is winding down, there are many questions that will be answered in the second half of the year, especially at the end. Like, when will the FCPS organizational changes occur and be announced? Which offices will potentially move to other departments, or maybe new offices, departments will be formed? Also, when will the new deputy superintendent be chosen? Will this hire coincide with the new chief equity officer? On this front, how about just hiring now Dr. Nardis King, who has been doing this work for over a year? On top of all this, the board must create a performance appraisal for Dr. Reed. My logical guess is that the performance appraisal will be based on the strategic plan that you will vote in. As I have stated for many years also, make the superintendent's performance appraisal summary, which was required by law, to be public, easily visible and accessible to the community on the FCPS website instead of buried it in the board docs. Again, the summary, not the actual appraisal, which is personnel matters. Thank you for your time. Best of luck during this budget cycle, and see you all February 17th.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Asra Nomani, followed by Norma Margulies.
Okay. So I'm so honored to be here with this wonderful Boy Scout troop. I was a Boy Scout mom. My son did not have a dad, so I was the mom who went out on the hikes, pretended I could hike as much as you guys could. It was an honor. You guys know you're here for your award, your badge. One of the oaths of the Boy Scouts is to be, what is it? Morally straight, isn't it? I want to give you a lesson that I have learned over these last few years as a mom. And it makes my heart tremble to look at these faces that have been witness. And I turn my own camera on them because you need to know who they are. I'm an immigrant mom. My son went to TJ.
Please address the board as per the public comments.
My son went to TJ. And I love and honor these children that are here, and I honor them. And my son was one of the mostly majority Asian kids, much like this troop here tonight. These are the children, I am certain, of the immigrant families that have been part of our TJ community. But what happened? What happened? In that fall of 2020, my son got an award that I did not know about. This is the envelope that Fabio Zuluaga sent to me. It is not in here. This is not some participation trophy. John Foster here
Ms. Namani, please address
John
the board.
Foster here has hired a law firm to investigate this case. They have not called me. I called you, Elaine Tholen. I wrote to you. You have not written back to me. I emailed every single one of you. Young children, adults are not always
Ms.
going to be
Namani, please
morally
address the
straight.
board.
You must follow your hearts.
Ms. Namani, please address the
Thank
board.
you. Our next speaker is Norma Margulies. Our next speaker is Norma Margulies.
I think that the withholding of the National Merit Commendment Awards is a scandal. It's a scandal that transcends our political views. It's a scandal that transcends our views even about the admission process to Thomas Jefferson, the changes that you implement. So the delay, if you just put it as from the perspective of what a competent and diligent administration should do, is a serious failure, a miserable failure, because we should always assume that administration is competent and they are aware of the deadlines and they should provide the notifications of these awards. It's up to the families, it's up to the students who work hard to decide whether or not they are going to include that award. I am honestly taken aback, shocked to be honest, to see how a group that supported the elimination to the admission tests to TJ are diminishing the hard work of these students. 1.5 million students took the exam. The 3% top received that award. They should have received the notification on time, period. That shouldn't be a question for anybody here, and it shouldn't be politicized, and the responsibles for that should be sanctioned accordingly, right? So but once again, the board has remained silent. The board doesn't say anything about it, and we have some schools that are acknowledging the problem. So, and at the same time, we are learning that you hire a contractor for $455,000. Sole source. So again, I would like to request an audit of the school board, and I would like to reiterate my support for those students who were not notified on time. It is not a fabrication, it is real. Thank you.
That was our final speaker.